Welcome to another exciting edition of the program, The Desk on Global Television. Today promises to be exciting as we'll be looking at very key issues making the rounds. We'll begin from the eastern part of the African continent, where we'll be focusing on Kenya as regards getting an update as regards the protest that has been ongoing for over a month now regarding, first had to do with the tax laws, which was rescinded by William Ruto, the president of Kenya. Now the call is for him to leave office. And history tells us that no Kenyan president has ever been removed from office prematurely. And there are only two routes to remove a Kenyan president, which has to be the fact that he does not have the capacity, and also via impeachment. So we'll be talking to a South African Broadcasting Corporation broadcast journalist in the person of Aggrey Barasa, who will be giving us an update as regards what's playing out in East Africa, specifically Kenya. Good evening, Barasa. Thank you for joining me on the Desk on Global Television. Barasa, are you there? Aggrey Barasa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm getting it.
All right, thank you for joining us all the way from Nairobi. Let's look at what's playing out in Kenya as regards the protests. First started with the tax law, and now it's the push for William Ruto to be ousted from government. And we know that the coalition led by Azimio La Umoja coalition is pushing forward with this move. How successful do you think this is going to be? And did anybody see this protest lasting this long?
Well, it's very difficult to tell if anybody, first of all, realized that this thing would come to happen and happen the way it has happened. Because it has never happened before. The first time that the youthful generation are coming up with the protests. Initially, we used to see protests that were mostly orchestrated by just everybody. But this time around, it was very much specific that it was the youth who arranged this and coordinated it and executed it in a very nice manner. So it's very difficult to tell if somebody really saw it coming or not. It actually took the government by surprise. Based on how it was done, you even saw the youth stormed the parliament and caught the members of parliament unaware. So you cannot say that somebody saw it coming or anything of that sort.
All right. How would you assess the role of the Azimio La Umoja's coalition, the role they played in helping the youths organize this protest and the push that has continued? We know that in 2023, as much as he went around trying to get as much as 10 million signatures towards this direction.
I really doubt if Azimio La Umoja coalition, you're talking about that, talk about the opposition. I doubt if they had a part to play in the protests, because if you read from the socials, if you watch the news from Kenya or even the global televisions, you realize that these youth were calling themselves faithless, tribeless, and partyless. So I cannot agree when someone says that Azimio La Umoja was part of the orchestration of the Gen Z protests.
All right. Let's look at the western part of Africa. We're talking about the ECOWAS bloc. In the east part of Africa, where Kenya is a major stakeholder in the Eastern Bloc, would you say the Eastern Bloc community is in support of William Ruto's continuous stay in power?
At the moment, I cannot comment on the support of the East African Bloc in helping William Ruto to retain or stay in power, because we haven't got any official communication from, let's say, the government spokesman of those governments or anything commenting on the state of the country and the Gen Z protests. But I think, as it would always be, no one wishes bad for the other, especially the counterparts, the presidents from the other two East African countries. But up to now, I haven't seen any official communication trying to condemn what happened or trying to behave in a manner like to suggest that they are helping William Ruto to stay in power. what is actually helping him to stay in power is some of the things he has done, like coming up with these hollow coalitions, bringing in the opposition into the government. We saw it in the recent appointments where the president appointed. First of all, one of the demands of the Gen Z protest was that the president overhauls his whole cabinet, citing reasons such as opulence and corruption in office, embezzlement of public funds. So the president was compelled to overhaul his cabinet. He sent all the cabinet secretaries home, and he came up with a new team. New, I can quote, because of course some of the people who are sent home, they came back through the back door. And among the new team of cabinet secretaries, we have seen some of the top leaders of the Azimio la Umoja, 4 members who have come into the cabinet. So that coalition, you can say, is what has saved the president stay in power. And another thing that we can say has saved him from the wrath of the youth is dropping the finance bill, which was bringing. Sorry.
All right.
The finance
talking
bill,
about the finance bill, let's look at the fact that for William Ruto, 2027 is when the next elections will be coming around. Before 2027, there are only 2 routes to get him out of government, which has to be the impeachment or the fact that the National Assembly, moves to either investigate whether he has the mental and physical capacity. How do you see this playing out? Do you think, which of the options do you think at the end of the day might be pursued by the National Assembly?
We only had 2 ways of getting there was only one way of getting the president out of office, and that was through the demonstrations, if they really continued. And but at the moment, the protests have ceased, and I really doubt if there can be any other way to get the president out of office, unless we go the ballot way in 2027. Now that a majority of the members of parliament in both houses, the Senate and the National Assembly, belong to the party which the president is the party leader. So I doubt if there is any other way to get the president out of office at the moment.
All right, looking at the political parties in Kenya, what's their body language towards the push by Kenyan youths and civil society organizations to ensure that Ruto doesn't remain in power?
Most of these political parties wanted to take advantage of the youth, the platform laid by the youth to author the president. But I can confidently confirm that the plan is not there. The plan failed because the youth remain adamant of the fact that they are tribeless, they are partyless, and they are faceless. So I really doubt if anybody can come and cling on or take advantage of the protest and say they want to advance their interests. Although experts argue that ODM, which is a party under the Azimio la Umoja coalition, which is the opposition, that they have taken advantage, and they are trying to cite the reason as the recent move by the president to appoint 4 of its top leaders into the cabinet positions. But I doubt if any party is going to take advantage again to advance their party interests using the Gen Z's process that we are experiencing in the country.
All right, as we wrap up our conversation, let's look at Nairobi and other cities in Kenya. Would you say Nairobi is more active in terms of the protest and other cities? How would you describe the mood there?
You have correctly put it. The protests were very active and they were hyper in Nairobi. They were also experienced in other cities like Nakuru, Eldoret, which is the home turf of the president, the towns like Kakamega, Mombasa City, but it was very active in Nairobi. But I can say the magnitude was almost the same because these youth across the country, they were advocating for the same thing. They had come together and their goal was very much clear. They had a very common goal. So I can say it was cutting across the country, only that it was very much exaggerated in Nairobi City.
All right, as we wrap it up, let's look at the role of the media in all of these crises and protests in Kenya. Would you say the Ruto's administration has been fair to the media, not winch hunting media houses to, clamp down on them for the coverage of this protest going forward, and especially SABC, which is a renowned media house across the continent? How has it been?
I cannot say the administration or government was any lenient to the media. There has been, as usual, media harassment. We saw an incident where one of the reporters belonging to working for a Kenyan-based television called K24 was injured by a police. The police lobbied a tear gas canister in her direction, and she was seriously injured. Other journalists, we even saw Larry Mado of a global journalist also, there was an attempt to lobby a tear gas at him, and he narrowly escaped the harm of the canister. So, I mean, the media has not been left out. Journalists have been injured. Among the many people who have sustained injuries during the protest are journalists. And another role of the media in the protest, I can talk about the social media especially. It really played a very vital role in enabling the youth to coordinate themselves, because you see they never used the platform X, and that's where they used to plan the protest. That is generally how the media contributed. Otherwise, the journalists were never let. Most of them were harassed by police. Most of them received the wrath of the government through excessive use of police against the protesters, and that is how it went down.
All right, just one of the messages just dropping in is asking the questions as regards Ruto's cabinet. We know that recently he did reconstitute his cabinet. What's the feeling among the cabinet members? Do you think they're inspired to continue working for him, or they seem to lose some bit of confidence in Ruto's administration already?
Some of them are appearing as if they have already lost confidence in him, but they don't have an option, because they have been put there to help the president propel his manifesto and agendas, to realize the agendas of the Kenya Kwanza government. I even saw those ones who have brought on board from the opposition side saying that if the president wants to dictate them and control their dockets from the State House, they would rather resign. That was a sentiment by one of the cabinet secretaries called Wycliffe Oparanya, who was appointed into the docket of cooperative and small and medium enterprises. So I cannot really be sure, or I cannot guarantee and say that these people, they are comfortable there or anything, but they're there to help the president propel his manifesto and agendas moving forward.
All right, Aggrey Barasa, I want to say thank you very much from SABC for joining us on the desk on Global Television right here in Nigeria. I want to say thank you, and we wish the Kenyan people the very best, and hope that this crisis will be resolved for the interest of the great Kenyan people and the African continent. Thank you for joining me on the desk.
Thank you so much, and have a nice evening.
All right, that's how much we can take from Aggrey Barasa, who is with the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, joining us from Nairobi as regards updates with the Kenyan protests going on. I will go for a quick break. When we return from the break, I'll be introducing my guests who have been in the live studio as we went to Kenya to get an update as regards what's playing out in Nairobi. When we return from this break, I'll be introducing my guests in the studio, and we hit up with other discourse on the national level. Stay with us. Right, welcome back from that break, straight from Nairobi, where we talked with Aggrey Barasa, who is a journalist with the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, as regards giving us update as regards what's playing out in Nairobi, Mombasa, and all the cities in Kenya, as regards the fact that the country youth are saying they want William Ruto to leave the seat of power in Kenya. So, like I did promise you, we're coming back to the live studios of Global Television. We have got two very amazing guests. Like it's tradition, we get the finest minds in the continent to help us look at very salient issues making the rounds. And I've got to my far right, his name is Gabriel Zakari, an ace journalist right here in the Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria here, and also Dr. Hajiya Aisha Shaibu, who is a renowned current affairs analysts joining us in the studio. They're both making their debut on the program, The Desk. I want to say thank you very much for joining me on the program.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right, let's look at issues making the rounds. We begin from Russia, where the big story on the global scene says Russia said Friday that it had repelled a nighttime attack using 12 U.S.-made missiles on the landmark Crimean Bridge, built on the orders of President Vladimir Putin after Moscow annexed the peninsula. Air defenses were used to deflect a group of strike by 12 ATACMS missiles made in the U.S. on the Crimean Bridge, and all the missiles were destroyed according to the Russian side of the divide. The bridge opened in 2018 by Putin, connects Kerch in Crimea with southern Russia's Krasnodar region. Let's look at what's happening in Ukraine. Putin had thought that it was going to be an easy ride for him annexing Ukraine. But let's look at fast forward months into the war. Just last week, the news broke that the Ukrainian forces were able to enter miles into Russia and have been attacking Russia. How do you see this playing out at the end of the way it's going?
All right. Thank you for having me. Of course, it's something that it's described as most people now say it's the hunter being hunted. Since the military offensive by Moscow in February 2022, I think this is one of the major strikes, into Russia. And it has made a loud and profound statement. And the Russians, no matter how you want to see it, are shaken by this attack, and they usually turn to the U.S. and say there shall be consequence, of these attacks. But with what it's happening now, it's playing out, it has become something that the Ukrainians have to beat their chest and say, yes, at least we have done something to push the forces of Russians, away. So it's something that every Ukrainian should be proud of. And then, for once, the Russians are
at the receiving end.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at with how it's going on, the fact that it's Ukraine now even piling pressure on Russia. Do you see this war ending anytime soon with the fact that the Russians are gaining incursion into Russia?
Yeah. As it stands, we can't predict the war coming to an end very soon because there are some powers behind the both parties, depending on who is taking the lead to subdue the other. As we all know, the U.S. is solidly behind the Ukrainian government, and it is giving them enough strength. They are gathering momentum. Like you rightly said, that incursion is something that has taken everyone by surprise. The level of temerity, the level of strength they have displayed is something that will have to put the Russians on edge.
Do you think this might make the Russian forces and the Russian people begin to doubt Vladimir Putin's game plan and future as the president of Russia?
Putin is a mafia on his own, and he believes in his capabilities. But like we rightly opined, you never can tell because it is not over until it is all over. There are some policies he will put in place that will douse down his level of popularity. And I think he will have to put that into serious consideration, going by the fact that there are some forces, like we said, that want to see the end of Putin.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point from Ukraine. Let's come back to Nigeria, where the Chinese firm targets Nigeria assets in 8 countries. That's the big story, talking about Zhongshan Fuchen Industrial Investment Co. Limited, the Chinese firm that got a court injunction to ground 3 presidential jets belonging to the federal government in Europe, has initiated plans to seize other Nigerian assets in the United Kingdom, the United States, and in 6 other countries. The media learned that the company had instituted legal proceedings in about 8 jurisdictions globally regarding the dispute. The other countries include Belgium, Canada, France, Singapore, and the British Virgin Islands. Documents relating to the case, which were obtained, were revealed on Thursday. This comes as the federal government vowed to protect its foreign assets from the predators. Gabriel, let's look at the government's stance. We're looking at 8 other countries. Does this show how desperate or how serious the Chinese firm is in trying to annex the Nigerian assets, whoever it is? And do you think the Nigerian government has got a case? They have come out to say this deal was between Ogun State and not with the federal government, and as such, the Chinese firm has no right to want to confiscate at least the presidential jets.
Okay, I may not be a student of international law, but in international law, that structure in itself, it's unlawful because it's not a personal property, you know, of a state, but of a nation. And Nigeria is a sovereign nation, you know, and so the structure itself is unlawful and it shouldn't happen. Whatsoever took place between China and Ogun State, it does not warrant the structure of those, planes. But be that as it may, you know, the role of our governments too in this regard, you know, comes to question. You know, what kind of bilateral agreements do we always enter with the Chinese? You know, you remember when the former Minister of Transport,
Rotimi Amechi?
Yes, yeah. You know, needed to build a rail line, you know, and there was an agreement within the Chinese, how much was given to us by the Chinese, you know, and they don't do this for free. You know, each time you enter into such agreement, you know, with China, you should be waiting for the repercussion, and of course, but the structure itself, you know, by any court, it's unlawful according to
do you think, first of all, France was unfair in the fact that they could grant such rulings for the seizure of the presidential jets owing to the bilateral relationship we have with France? Or do you think because Nigeria is an Anglophone-speaking country, that was why it was there was no hesitation by the French court to grant that ruling in favor of the Chinese company?
Yeah, from every indication, I think this is about the 3rd country that is granting ruling in favor of the Chinese firm. US did, UK did, and now France has equally taken toll in doing that. Like, we want to look at this thing holistically. This is a Chinese firm, a single firm, having an agreement or went into a bilateral agreement with a state, one state in Nigeria. So I don't think it is wise or ideal for the government property, national assets, to be seized, because the state in question has its own asset. If at all we are to look at it from that perspective, that okay, there was a breach
yeah,
or whatsoever, but the issue is these jets belong to the national or the federal government of Nigeria, not Ogun State. So I would want to, like, the federal government is trying to fight back. That it appears like there is a conspiracy somewhere. But whichever way, we should be able to go back to the drawing
But
table.
is the federal government being realistic when they say there's a conspiracy rather than facing the truth that Ogun State had defaulted and thus had the price to pay?
We were made to understand that the investments of this company has to do with a dwarf fence. I might not have details of what transpired, but at the moment, what we are seeing is that the level of investment that has been put into place is not something that will warrant the ruling of a federal government asset to be seized. Not one, not two. I think there are 3 planes we're talking about.
Yeah, 3.
3 jets. So what is the financial commitment of this deal that will warrant the seizure of national assets that amount to that?
All right,
above that,
yeah.
we should look at the diplomatic immunity. You understand? You know, is it that all these other courts have been able to overlook that?
That is what they have done. They have overlooked the aspect that, the national immunity covers in this situation. So that is why, to an extent, we might agree that there is a conspiracy somewhere.
But don't you think the federal government on the fact that we've not seen any head rolls in Ogun State or anybody being brought forward as someone who entered that agreement as to say we're holding somebody responsible, also a default, the fact that there's no name being mentioned. And we're not seeing the federal government say, okay, the government of Ogun State, this is the penalty for what you've done.
My own understanding, maybe it's too early in the day.
Okay.
This may have come as a surprise to them.
But this has been on since 2016.
2015 even.
Yes, but the seizure, of the planes, it's just been announced, and then it's coming as a surprise. So, but I'm sure there are people who would be responsible to what has happened.
All right, let's hope the best will be done for the interests of Nigeria and the federal government, as we hope that we already know that in 2007, the Ogun State reportedly entered into a joint venture agreement with the Chinese company and another company to create the Ogun Guangdong Free Trade Zone Company and the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority, a federal government entity that oversees the free trade zones in Nigeria, then delegated control and operation of the free trade zone to the company. So we hope that will be resolved. Let's move on to the judiciary that has been termed the most corrupt agency in the current recent poll conducted, and the National Judicial Council, NJC, has recommended Kudirat Kekere-Ekun to take over as the new Chief Justice of Nigeria when Olukayode Riola retires from office in a week. Kayode, who took office as the CJN 2 years ago, will retire on clocking the retirement age of 70 on the 22nd of August to avoid a vacuum. Let's look at the role of the judiciary so far. Current statistics show that they've been labeled as one of the most corrupt agencies in the country, and the soon-to-be ex-CJN has not done them any favors. With just some weeks back, we had when some judges in the FCT were sworn in with some affiliations with the chief judge of the country and also Nyesom Wike. Do you think he has left a legacy to be followed, and how huge is the task before the incoming Chief Justice of the Federation?
Yeah, talking about the judiciary, of course, for me, I'll give a pass mark, to the judiciary in this administration compared to the others,
Okay, is there a reason?
Yes, because if you see some of the judgments, that have, and one of the landmark.
Is it the conflicting judgment in Kano that you're giving pass mark to?
No, but you should also look at the role that of the local government autonomy.
Don't you think it's because they were forced to, because the federal government had already supported that line of thought?
It is a case that has been on for a long time, but they have been able to at least, put their feet down and make a judgment. For that also, you would give them some kudos. I don't think it is that bad. as far as I'm concerned. You know, but of course, a lot of people too have their own proclivation, you know, their own inclination to what is happening. But for me, I give them pass mark. And the coming of Kekere Okun, it may even change things for the better.
Okay, do you agree with him? Now that we're having a female going to be in charge of our judiciary, they say what a man can do, a woman will do better. Do you think we have less conflicting rulings and corruption tainted judiciary with her coming?
Well, I don't believe the ability to deliver is a gender-based
issue. Okay.
I believe in the personality of the person involved. Talking about being a woman, if she's going to deliver or not, will have to do with her level of intelligence, the people, her team members she's working with, her teaching cabinet, and the ability to maintain a steadfast position, not to be influenced by politicians, not to be influenced by colleagues and stuff like that. That will go a long way to give a pass mark if she is able to deliver or not.
Okay, judging by the fact that the outgoing CJN didn't have a very
robust.
Yes, his scorecard might not be as excellent as Mr. Gabriel has painted. Do you think the fact that he nominated this lady is something that is questionable, or shouldn't be the process of appointing the CJN? Do you think the process is right?
The problem we are having in this country is selection
process
problem.
Okay. Yeah, but we should not forget that the eligibility, you know, to occupy the post of the CJN, it's you must have been called to the bar. And at least have
15 years of experience.
So
we are not negating that part.
Okay.
We are not. What we are saying is, when you appoint someone to occupy a position, the person will have to be loyal to you.
Okay, so that's where the danger is.
That is where the danger is, because she has been appointed by her predecessor. She would want to
cover whatever.
Yes, all the loopholes that have been dug, she will have to cover it. There is a reason why she is there in the first place. And when we talk about you, I want to disagree with you on the ground that we give credibility to the judicial system. I differ in that aspect, because one of the primary issues that will give us a good position is our electoral process. We are in democracy. We cannot shy away from the fact that we have a focus. We have something to deliver. So with this controversial court judgment up and down, contradicting each other, it is a bad precedence we are setting as a nation. And if we are not able to nip this ugly trend in the bud, then democracy is going to be in jeopardy.
All right, just a final word as regards how big the task is for her. So let's agree that, yes, she might want to cover some of loopholes. But do you think how big is the task for her to clean the mess the judiciary has found itself?
Okay, I think, you know...
especially having political interference.
Yes, you know, Oluka now possibly by next week will be referred to her predecessor.
Yes.
You know, if she is going to toe the line, you know, of her predecessor, you know, for me, he hasn't done too badly. And if talking about interference in politics has to do with, you know, what role that they are supposed to play. And if they are playing that role, that they are capable of not being involved in our political whatever. You know, when she talked about completing judgments,
yes,
and it has been an issue that even the CJN, this outgoing CJN, has been talking about.
Though he said that as long as judicial officials are not well paid, that's when we're going to see this kind of judgment. Now the federal government has increased their salaries. We still see conflicting rulings like that in Kano. So Do you think money is the issue, or is probably the integrity of the judiciary is very questionable?
That is just it. You cannot give what you don't have. Integrity, if you have integrity, financial inducement will not have serious impact on your person, because your conscience will prick you at every point in time. But where you lack integrity, anything goes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, as a matter of urgency, we should stop this practice of anointed appointments. If we are able to give credibility to those that actually deserve these appointments, give a holistic preview of the person you are going to put in them. Somebody that has past story of criminality, corruption, fraud, you are bringing that person to head such a sensitive position. What result are you expecting?
All right, a big question the judiciary would have to answer in the coming days and weeks, as we wish the new CJN the very best of her new role. Let's get into Labour, where the Nigerian Labour Congress has called on the federal government to not interfere in the tenure of the union leaders in the country. Benson Okpa, who was here on the desk yesterday, Benson Okpa was here on the desk, and he did accuse the Nigerian police force of double standards and invading their facility, and seemed to not be truthful, because the Nigerian police told them that they were aware of a wanted criminal, and the question was, how come the wanted criminal was domiciled in the Labour Congress office, and why do you have to come at 2 a.m. Without even pre-informing the leadership of the NLC? Do you agree with what the NLC is accusing the federal government of, trying to attack them from hybrid attack from all corners, using, first of all, labor laws and using the Nigerian police force and intimidation?
All right, first and foremost, we have to look at the relationship with the leadership of the present NLC and government. You know, it is not the first leadership that we are, seeing. We have seen other various NLC leadership and how they related with past government, but what is the relationship of this present NLC leadership? There are so many accusations, among the present NLC leadership, in the kind of romance they have with the present government. And one thing about, if you are in a labor union and you are fighting for a cause, there's an extent you go with the government of the day, and if they have been able to, see some kind of lapses, or they have exposed themselves, to, being prone to attack, of course, it is going to happen. And so, how do they relate with the present government? What is their level of relationship? Some people have accused them of
compromising.
Yes, compromise and double standards. And if you do that, the government will not respect you, and they will just feel, at the end of the day, they can just buy your conscience.
All right, let's look at the issue of trying to reduce the tenure of union leaders from 4 years to 2 years. Do you think technically the labor union is right, saying the government is trying to interfere in their business? And also the issue of Labour Party, Abure in the picture, Benson Okpa yesterday, who is the Information and Public Affairs Officer of the NLC, did accuse Abure of promising to sell the party to the APC. Do you think this is there's some bit of issues here going on?
Yeah, conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
Personal gain, personal interest. That is the problem we have in this country. Sometimes, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how outspoken you are, some persons would want to subdue you to silence. And that is one primary issue or challenge we have as a nation. There is no way you can reduce the tenure to 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So far, so good. How far have they been able to get positive outcome from the 4 years that you are coming to reduce to 2? It is when you feel that, oh, the 4 years that has been in existence before now has been so interesting with good results, then let us reduce it so we can have others that are better to come on board. But the situation is not like that. And again, when we talk about interference, it is something, when you romance the devil, definitely the devil will become a part of your existence. Over time, they have been able to lay that precedence of government interfering in virtually every part of the system, having a say, dictate what should be done to their own advantage. It has been the norm. There's nothing different. I don't think there's anything we are seeing today that is different from what has been going on, except that the individuals involved might refuse to, either for personal interest or for the interest of the general public, say, no, we are not going to dance to your tune this time around. But where the government is insisting on interfering, and the present leaders of NLC are equally insisting, then the best thing to do is to come to a drawing table where they can have some meaningful and reasonable negotiation. I think when they both of them shift ground, Nigerians will be able to enjoy the outcome of their understanding. But where the reverse is the case, it is the same Nigerian system that will suffer the brunt of it all.
All right, time not our friend. We've got 10 minutes to call it a wrap. Let's look at the next talking point. We're looking at the high cost of living as federal government have turned Nigerians to beggars via palliatives. That's what the founder of Afe Babalola University at Dokiti and the person of Afe Babalola yesterday did say when he took a swipe at the federal government over the distribution of palliative, describing it as an attempt to turn Nigerians to beggars and leading them to poverty. He also threw his weight behind the Patriots' call for a new constitution. Babalola made this known when the prestigious Sisters League came on a thank you visit to him at the ABUAD campus. Let's look at Afe Babalola hardly speaks, but when he speaks, definitely he has something to say. Do you agree with him when he says the federal government is turning Nigerians to beggars via palliatives?
What does one time, under the President Olusegun Obasanjo, one-time Minister of Education, what does he want Nigerians to do? More or less like Nigerians are helpless, you know, and here is the government that says, okay, we have palliatives for you because of some of what they call it that we have made. The point is, Nigerians, do they have the choice? Is there anything they can do about it? You understand? It's not just easy for you to, or just okay for you to come out and say, okay, the government are turning Nigerians to beggars. What do you want Nigerians to do?
Is he technically saying the government is a bad government? That's why Nigerians are not able to feed themselves.
He should speak. He should speak to the power that be. You understand? He more like.
But that is what he has done.
No, but it's not a strong statement. It's not a strong statement. You should tell the government that no to palliatives. This and this and this and that. You should the things that you should do.
I strongly support his opinion or his stance.
Why?
You need to go out there and see how people are miserably looking for what to eat. As endowed as Nigeria is, we still have people that cannot feed once in a day.
Maybe that's why the government feels it should give you palliatives.
For palliative that will serve you for how long?
Aren't you saying you palliatives?
No. See, it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
The question
they are giving you like 2-3 noodles of rice, and for a family of 5, for instance, 2-3 noodles of rice, 2 pieces of Indomie, some pieces of Maggi and whatever, that cannot even sustain that family for 48 hours.
So what should the government do?
You see, we are not asking them to give us fish.
Or teach us how to fish.
They should teach us how to fish, because we have what it takes to learn how to fish.
Exactly what I expected Babalola to say.
Now, the issue here is the Nigerian government should look inwardly. I don't know whoever is giving them that advice of giving rice. In most cases, you see a governor share 2-3 mudus of rice. You see a minister sharing 1 mudu of rice. You see House of Rep doing the same. I mean, you are indirectly, like Afebola's opinion, you are indirectly insulting our sensibility as citizens of this country, because we shouldn't be eating like beggars. You see a whole lot of graduates on the street as we speak, unemployed. I saw a graduate begging to be a security just to put food on the table. So we have to make our voices known. Afebola has added his voice by telling the government that you can do better than this. What other things do you want him to do? Confront them? We just had a protest. What is the resultant effect? How has he been able to shape the way our leaders think? No matter what you do, just like you said, we are helpless to say the truth. No need of romancing the situation. And when Fela sang a song some time ago, he says, suffering and smiling. For how long are we going to continue suffering and smiling? I think we have what it takes. We have so many capable hands that can cushion the effect of what we have today and transform it into positive outcome. Nigerian leaders should choose those that can deliver. We should shift from favoring people based on party affiliation, blood relationship, and mutual interest. We should be able to fix those that know value their onions, that can deliver on the mandate. I think that is the only way we can get out of this peanut they are giving us. You can imagine you being given 1 cup of rice.
Very, very sad commentary there, and I guess that's where we're going to draw the curtains on today's edition of the program, The Desk. I want to say a big thank you to Gabriel Zachary, who is a journalist right here in the Federal Capital Territory, for joining me on The Desk and making his debut on the program, and also Dr. Aisha Shaibu for her very balanced and deep analysis of all the talking points we shared on today's edition of the program, The Desk. Not forgetting Agre Barasa from Kenya, Nairobi, who joined us via Zoom to give us an update as regards the protest in Kenya and the call for William Ruto, the president of Kenya, to step aside. My name is Anthony Momondi, saying thank you for being part of the most compelling talk show, The Desk, on Global Television. Good evening.